Together is a Distant Star is a sci-fi fantasy anthology featuring women and queer authors from around the world.
I'm AJ Calvin. I write fantasy and science fiction. My story is called Tiv Kadan. It is related to my novel Wraith in the Revolution. Unlike the novel, it is a more cozy piece. It features Daros and Pablo. Daros is Botanari, an alien species, more or less evolved from plants. He is the CEO of a major corporation. His people, he's the heir to their dynasty. Completely the opposite of what Pablo's experience has been. But he is also very isolated because of that, because everybody sees him as this icon and they don't see him as a person. Like I said, it's a cozier thing. It's kind of a first date scenario.
We described it as a meet cute in an intergalactic restaurant.
That's a very good description of it.
I'm Co Lansdell. I like to call it speculative fiction because I feel like that encompasses science fiction, fantasy, and horror. My stories are an even mix of all of those. I wrote Flight of the Guild Master, and that story, like all of my others, takes place on Nyadria, which follows these Naiad characters who are aliens in a sense. This story is about Gilduna. She was recruited by the Transmutation Guild to become a resin crafter. Resin craft is a kind of matter manipulation. You could say it's like alchemy. The Transmutation Guild is rather corrupt, and so one facet of her job is to actually use resin craft to mutilate and mark as outcasts dissenters who have upset the powers that be. Gilduna has found a way to justify this, and she's just been numbing her conscience. So something in this story prompts Gilduna to start questioning why she's doing what she's doing and whether she should continue.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Foster. I'm a Mexican-American author. I am participating in Together is a Distant Star anthology. The project I participated in is named Life of Gollum. It's a standalone story that has nothing to do with my prior published work. It's not really that dark, but it's kind of like introspective, a really short introspective story. Imagine magical creatures that have no sentience at all. They only understand that they live in this mountain, this is their home, and they view humans as creatures called fleshies. They don't really understand their life purpose, only that the few fleshies with medallions control them. So this golem is the protagonist. It experiences different emotions little by little and starts to become more sentient and starts to understand that, say, feelings like friendship, boredom, and all of a sudden, despair.
It felt very much like a kind of Twilight Zone sci-fi fantasy.
And I think the closest to English language media would be those lit RPGs where the dungeon is the point of view. I think that would be like the closest thing.
My name is Karen, and I am a fantasy and horror author, originally from Denmark. Right now I live in Sweden. The story in Together is a Distant Star, Vetterchild, it's pronounced in Swedish. Vetters are in Swedish and Scandinavian folklore these kind of otherworldly creatures that you shouldn't mess around with. The story is about getting back at your bullies to kind of get revenge in some ways, a bittersweet justice. So the story is about a young girl who is chosen as a sacrifice for these vetters and decides to try to take fate into her own hands instead.
Where did the idea come from?
I think just like a personal kind of anger currently at the world situation and a lot of injustice happening everywhere, and that kind of sparked a story where I wanted a girl or a woman to kind of take the fate back.
I'm Bronwyn, and I write science fiction and fantasy for mostly teens and adults. I've done science research. I'm a therapist specializing in trauma and helping neurodivergent adults. Done a lot of training and healing and energy work and yoga and sound healing. I've worked with horses and meditation. I've rescued animals, and I just kind of combine all that together into stories that I hope are fun. So this story is called This is the Worst Timeline. It's about a woman named Kat who is an alien peace negotiator. And she has this strange power that she has no control over where she gets yanked through time and space. And she is about to celebrate the peace that she has achieved in her timeline when she gets yanked to this other timeline where she must save her human lover. But he believes she is the invading enemy. It's basically a genocidal war. They're destroying humanity. The humans are really not doing well. And so it has enemies to lovers, needing to work with your enemies to survive. It questions when, if ever, violence is justified and talks about the many different forms of love.
Kat definitely is an enjoyable character. She's very earnest.
Yeah, she is.
Hi, I'm Delilah. I am a Chinese Australian author and I write raw, emotional, epic adult fantasy. So, Razir's Glory. In epic fantasy, right, you have a lot of stories about the chosen one. This is how, like, they come of age and save the world. And there are so many epic fantasy stories where, like, the mother's just like a footnote. Sometimes you don't even find out if she has a name. Like, you don't know anything about her. She just seems to exist for the purpose of giving birth. There are just so few stories that center the maternal perspective and make the maternal figure have motivations and ambitions.
Yeah, and Razir's definitely a very strong character in spite of her circumstances. Her father is on his deathbed, and she has to return home to help sort out who's going to take over.
Yes. Our fantasies obviously fulfill a very important part of fiction, but I think it's also more interesting when you have characters who should, by all rights, be very powerful to explore what happens if they are put in circumstances where they cannot exercise that power. And so I am very interested in exploring how we think about and perceive women, trap them in these roles, which, if you actually ask them, like, I don't necessarily know that they would perceive themselves that way.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and I look forward to seeing the reception for Together as a Distant Star when it comes out.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on for the interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me for this interview. Let's hope that lots of readers enjoy this anthology. I've read the stories, they're amazing, and really thank you for giving me a chance to share a story to everyone.
It's been a great project. And I'm really glad that you and some of the other people have enjoyed my story so much. That means a lot.
There's right now a cat in the background who is feeling very left out.